Right on my wedding night, before I even had the chance to take off my heavy wedding gown, my mother-in-law suddenly barged into the room, snatched my heirloom jewelry box, and uttered a sentence that made my blood run cold. "I'll hold on to this for safekeeping." I never expected that just a few minutes later, her very action would ignite a fiery confrontation between two generations. And then, in a way no one could have anticipated, I made her turn pale on the spot, completely flipping the script on my first night as a daughter-in-law. If you wish to uncover the truth behind this story, please listen and enjoy it right now. A wedding night is supposed to be the moment you finally breathe a sigh of relief after months of running around frantically planning the wedding. But life is never as perfect as people imagine. I am Hannah, 28 years old, and I married Michael, a gentle, calm man who truly loved me. The reception had just ended, and I hadn't even managed to unlace my heavy, intricately beaded wedding dress when it happened. I can still vividly remember the chill of unease running down my spine the moment I heard my mother-in-law's footsteps echoing in the hallway outside our master suite. That night, as the extended family and guests left our newly built suburban home in New Jersey, everyone offered their blessings, praising my mother-in-law for being a kind woman who would surely love her new daughter-in-law. I alone knew those words were only half true. I had barely rested my back against the mattress when the bedroom door was violently pushed open, no knock, no warning. I jolted in surprise. Michael frowned slightly, about to stand up, but his mother had already marched straight into the room. Barbara, my mother-in-law, a woman in her early 60s with a booming voice and eyes that were always sharp and calculating, didn't look at me. She didn't look at Michael. Her eyes were glued entirely to the vintage wooden box I had placed on the nightstand, the heirloom jewelry box containing family gold and cash gifts that my own mother had handed me right before I left my family home. Barbara walked over, and without a single word, snatched the box up. I was stunned. "Mom, what are you doing?" She shot me a side eye, a glare so sharp it tore right through the fragile harmony of our bridal suite. "I'm taking this heirloom box for safekeeping. If I let you two hold on to it, you'll lose it, and then who's to blame?" Hearing that, a lump formed in my throat. Michael immediately stepped forward. "Mom, leave it for Hannah to keep. These are gifts from her side of the family. Her side or our side. It all belongs to this house now." She glared at him. "I said I'm keeping it, so I'm keeping it. Now that you're married, everything under this roof is organized by me." With that, before either of us could react, she turned her back and headed for the door. I clearly saw the heirloom box clutched tightly in her hands, as if it were something she had bought herself. In that moment, my face grew hot, not because of the jewelry or the money inside, but because of the way she treated me right in front of my husband. It was my wedding night. I was still in my wedding dress, barely having a moment to catch my breath, yet she acted as if this house only had room for one woman in power. Michael looked at me, his eyes filled with guilt. He was about to say something else, but my mother-in-law pressed the lock button on the outside of the door, snapping it shut and cutting his words off entirely. She was always like that, always needing to have the final say. I looked at Michael. "Do you see this? It's only the first day, and she's already doing this. Imagine what she'll do later." "I'm so sorry." "Let me talk to her tomorrow morning," Michael said bitterly. "Tomorrow morning?" By then, the box would be locked away in her safe. I am a soft-spoken person, but I am not the type to stay silent when walked over. My family didn't give me that heirloom box just to show off wealth. They gave it to me as a symbol of trust. My mother had specifically told me, "This isn't just money. This is our family's blessing. Keep it safe to remember the parents who raised you." Having it snatched away on my wedding night? How could I just accept that? I took a deep breath. A thought flashed through my mind. If I let this go overnight, I would never get that box back. My mother-in-law was the type of person who pushed harder the more you yielded. Once she had her hands on something, it was gone forever. But how could I get it back? I couldn't get into a screaming match with her. If I made a scene on my wedding night, people would just call me a disrespectful daughter-in-law. And Michael, he was a good man, but slightly too submissive to his mother. I looked around the room, then looked at Michael. "Call your mom back upstairs to help me with something." Michael's eyes widened. "Are you crazy? She just took the box. Why would I call her back up? Just do as I say. I started unlacing the heavy layers of my wedding dress, keeping only the sheer slip underneath. I let my hair down. My face was pale from exhaustion, but my eyes were ice cold. Michael called out softly through the door. "Mom? Could you come up here for a second?" Outside, the sound of her slippers stopped. Less than a minute later, she unlocked and opened the door. "What do you want now?" I sat on the edge of the bed, keeping my voice as soft and sweet as possible. "Mom, thank you so much for taking care of everything for us. It's just about that heirloom box. Could you let me take one last look at it? You know how it is. I'm a daughter, and my mom told me to keep a close eye on it. It's totally fine if you keep it safe, but please let me double-check the inventory so I know exactly what's in there, just in case my family asks later." I clearly saw her eyes falter for a second. That was her weakness, her pride. She wanted to keep the box to exert dominance, but she also didn't want outsiders whispering that she was confiscating her daughter-in-law's assets out of greed. She crossed her arms. "If you're putting it clearly like that, fine. I'll bring it up for you to look at." As she turned to go downstairs, I immediately looked at Michael. "Stand right next to me. When she hands me the box, hold the door open. What are you planning? Taking back what belongs to me. And if my mom finds out?" I looked him dead in the eye. "I'm not stealing. I am reclaiming my right to keep what my own mother gave me." Michael stayed silent. Perhaps he understood that if I compromised right from the start, I would never have a voice in our future life together. A moment later, Barbara walked upstairs, holding the box, and placed it on the bed. "Look at it. When you're done, I'm taking it back." I opened the box. Inside were a diamond necklace, a gold bracelet, and some cash my mother had prepared. I sat turning the box, deliberately shifting it so it teetered on the very edge of the mattress. Barbara watched me like a hawk, as if afraid I would swallow it whole. "Are you done?" she asked impatiently. I smiled faintly. "Yes, Mom, but..." The exact moment she leaned in to hear what I was saying, I subtly tilted the box. The lid flipped back, and a couple of gold coins spilled out, tumbling onto the thick carpet. She panicked and immediately bent down to pick them up. And in that lightning-fast fraction of a second, I pulled the box flush against my chest and shoved it gently into Michael's arms. Michael understood the assignment. He gripped it tightly. As soon as she looked up, I said, "Mom, this box is mine. As for the gold you just picked up, you can hold on to that for tonight. We'll sort it out tomorrow morning." She froze, her face changing colors. "You dared to play me?" I looked straight at her. "I wouldn't dare, but this is my dowry. You scared me, so I'm going to keep it myself." The room was dead silent for a few seconds. Then, she let out a heavy breath. "Fine, let's see how you two survive." She stormed out. Michael turned to me, his face pale. "You are reckless." I looked at the heirloom box safely back in my hands. It wasn't about the wealth. It was because I knew this was merely the opening act of a very long war. After my mother-in-law stormed downstairs, the air in the room grew thick and heavy. I could still hear her slippers slamming against the hardwood stairs, each step echoing like a warning. Michael stood next to me, still trembling slightly, while I, despite my heart hammering in my chest, forced my face to remain perfectly calm. I knew that from the moment I took back the heirloom box, I was no longer the docile daughter-in-law in Barbara's eyes. From now on, she wouldn't let things slide easily. But I also told myself, if I allowed myself to be trampled on the very first night, I'd have no voice for the rest of my life. A moment later, Michael spoke up. "Hannah, maybe tomorrow morning we should go down and apologize to Mom just to keep the peace. If you talk to her sweetly, she'll calm down." I turned to look at my husband, a man so gentle that sometimes it bordered on weakness. "Do you think I was wrong?" "Not exactly, but my mom has a hot temper. She's used to controlling everything. But these are gifts from my own mother. Where exactly did I go wrong?" Michael couldn't answer. He just sat down next to me and sighed. I placed the heirloom box inside the closet and locked it. "Michael, if you love me, you need to stand by my side just this once. I do not want to spend the rest of my life walking on eggshells." He lowered his head. "I understand. I'll try to talk to Mom, But let's take it slow. Let's not trigger her again. No one in this house can handle her wrath. That sentence offered me absolutely no comfort. On the contrary, it made me realize that if my own husband was this terrified of his mother, I would have to protect myself. I had just finished changing into comfortable clothes and was about to go take a shower to wash off the exhaustion when a frantic knocking echoed on the door. Michael ran to open it. It was my father-in-law, Robert, a man of few words, gentle but somewhat passive, having lived his entire life under the massive shadow of his wife. Whatever Barbara said, he simply nodded. He stepped inside, his voice low. "Michael, come downstairs for a minute. Your mother is not happy." Michael looked at me, his eyes asking for permission. I nodded. "Go ahead." As soon as Michael left, Robert looked at me. It was an indescribable look, not hostile, but not exactly friendly either. "Hannah, regarding matters in this house, whether big or small, just defer to your mother-in-law. She is used to arranging things. Just be gentle with her. Don't make her angry. When she gets angry, everyone suffers." He finished his piece and turned on his heel, walking out without waiting for my reply. I sat back down on the bed, feeling as if I had just been handed a survival manual on my wedding night. It was crystal clear. Everyone in this house was accustomed to living under Barbara's dictatorship. They were used to bowing their heads, and they assumed I would do the same. I was just about to lie down for a moment when the sound of an argument erupted from downstairs. My mother-in-law's voice boomed. "She's insolent. It's her wedding night, and she dared to snatch things right out of my hands. At this rate, she'll be walking all over me in no time." Michael's voice was soft. "Mom, Hannah didn't mean it like that." "Didn't mean it? You're defending your wife blindly, aren't you? Let me tell you, women who act brazen from the start only get worse." I heard the sound of dishes being slammed onto the dining table. What kind of daughter-in-law acts all sweet to my face, but is a viper on the inside? I just wanted to hold on to her gold for safekeeping, and she acted like I was trying to rob her. Michael tried to explain. "Mom, on her wedding day, you taking gifts given by her parents. It's natural she felt hurt. Hurt my foot. Your wife has been in this house for one night, and she's already mocking me. I'm telling you, whatever enters this house belongs to this house." I heard every single word clearly. The feeling of being deeply insulted seeped into my veins. As I sat there thinking, I heard a chair scrape aggressively against the floor, followed by heavy footsteps stomping up the stairs. Less than 3 seconds later, the bedroom door was flung open once again. My mother-in-law stood there, her face flushed red with rage. "You, get down here." I sat up straight. "Yes? Is there a problem, Mom? Get downstairs so we can talk clearly. I will not accept a newlywed daughter-in-law who calculates every single ounce of gold like this. What I keep, I keep. Don't you dare try to play games with me." I took a deep breath and walked downstairs. When I reached the living room, the leftover catering from the reception was still on the tables, but the atmosphere was as cold as a funeral parlor. My father-in-law sat in a corner, dead silent. Michael stood nervously by the sofa. My mother-in-law crossed her arms. "Now, speak. Who do you think you are, snatching that box back from me?" I spoke calmly. "Mom, I didn't snatch it. I just held on to what belongs to me. I was afraid of losing it, so I asked to see it. The gold fell, you picked it up, and I didn't fight you for it." "Oh, you speak so beautifully, don't you? You orchestrated dropping the gold just to trick me and take the box back, didn't you?" I looked straight into her eyes. "If you think I orchestrated it, then I lose, because I never imagined you would think of me that way." She sneered. "I've lived for over 60 years. I know your type." That statement choked me up for a second, but I refused to let her see weakness. I will only say this once. The things my biological mother gave me, I cannot let anyone else hold on to, not even you. I apologize if I made you angry, but I will not hand the box over." The room fell dead silent. She glared at me, her eyes no longer just angry, but venomous. "Fine. If you can say that, then I'll say this. From today onward, if you want to live in my house, you live by my rules. Otherwise, pack your bags and get out right now." Michael jumped up. "Mom! Oh my God, we just got married. How can you say something like that? Married or not, I didn't let you marry her so she could point fingers and boss me around. If a daughter-in-law is disrespectful, I won't accept her. I looked at Michael. He frantically rushed over and grabbed my hand. Hannah, don't argue anymore. Let's just endure it a little to keep the peace. Endure it. I bit my lip. Endure it in exchange for humiliation. Endure it to be bullied every single day. Endure it, only to lose my entire voice in this home forever? I looked up, my voice slow but absolute. If you want me to leave this house, Mom, I will leave. The entire living room froze. Michael went pale. What? What are you saying? I squeezed his hand. I am not leaving you, but I refuse to live under such disrespect. I am leaving so Mom understands I am not a freeloader. As for our marriage, we will figure it out later. We are not getting a divorce, but I will not live like this. My mother-in-law was stunned. She likely never expected a daughter-in-law, in the house for less than 24 hours, to stand her ground so fiercely. Michael panicked. Hannah, please don't do this. Let me talk to Mom again. But I had already turned and walked back upstairs, not to run away, but to prepare a move that even my mother-in-law could never anticipate. I knew that if I simply packed up and ran, she would label me a rebellious brat. But if I left in a different way, she would be the one turning pale. And I had formulated this plan the moment my foot hit the third step of the staircase. I walked up the stairs, my heart burning like fire, but my mind was strangely lucid. Every step I took felt like a firm declaration to my own chest. Do not be weak. Do not bow your head. I knew my mother-in-law's personality perfectly. She didn't hate me because of the heirloom box. She hated me because I refused to bow down and let her command me. I went into the room, closed the door, and stood in front of the mirror. I looked at my face, still carrying the flawless bridal makeup from the ceremony. My eyes were red, but I didn't shed a single tear. I wouldn't allow myself to be weak right now. My husband was still downstairs, caught between his mother and his wife, undoubtedly overwhelmed, but I clearly understood that if I softened, I would lose. And if I just ran away, I would be branded as the drama queen bride who abandoned her husband. I had to leave in a way that left them speechless, a way that was entirely reasonable, and forced Barbara, my mother-in-law, to take a hard look at herself. I opened the closet, took out the heirloom box, and placed it on the desk, intentionally leaving it in plain sight. I sat down, pulled out my phone, and called my own mother, Sarah. As soon as she picked up, before I could even speak, she asked, "How is it, honey? Is the wedding night going well?" Her voice was as gentle as a calm stream, but my chest tightened. Mom, please, can I come home for a few days? My mother fell silent for a second. What's wrong, sweetie? What happened over there? My voice trembled, but I swallowed it back. My mother-in-law snatched my heirloom box right on our wedding night. When I asked for it back, she called me disrespectful. When I kept it, she threatened to kick me out of the house. I can't handle this, Mom. On the other end of the line, my mother let out a long, heavy sigh, a sigh deep enough for me to feel exactly how much it broke her heart. If a daughter-in-law is bullied like this on her very first night, how can she survive? Come home, honey. Come back to Evanston with me. No one can bully you here. Hearing that, my heart constricted, but her words only fortified my resolve. Mom, but I can't leave Michael. I love him. He's just being pressured too much by his mother. So, what's your plan? I took a deep breath. Mom, prepare a bed for me, but I'm not coming home tonight. I need to do something so my mother-in-law knows I am not the kind of daughter-in-law she can just trample on. My mother sounded worried. Don't do anything foolish, Hannah. No, I will do everything according to reason, morals, and etiquette. But I will make her understand that I am not someone who will suffer in silence. I hung up the phone and stood up. The plan was crystal clear in my mind. Down in the living room, the arguing had quieted down. I could hear Michael trying to mediate. Mom, please calm down. Let us rest for tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow. There is no tomorrow, my mother-in-law hissed. If she steps foot downstairs again, I don't have a daughter-in-law. Michael sighed. Mom, you're being too cruel. I am cruel to the disrespectful. And rightfully so. Whose side are you on? That question cut like a knife. Michael went silent. My father-in-law remained seated at the table, not daring to interject. I opened the bedroom door and stepped out, looking straight down the staircase. I descended, pacing my steps deliberately. All three people downstairs looked up. My mother-in-law sneered. "Coming down to apologize?" I stood up perfectly straight. "No, ma'am. I came down to inform you of my decision." The room went dead silent. I articulated every word clearly. "I will not be sleeping here tonight. I am going back to my parents' house in Evanston for a few days. I need to calm down, and I think both sides need time to cool off. But I am not leaving because I am afraid of you, nor am I abandoning my husband. I am leaving so that you understand. I refuse to be disrespected." Michael sprang to his feet. "Hannah, are you really leaving?" I turned to Michael, my voice soft but firm. "I am leaving properly. I am going back to my maiden home. No one has the right to call me disrespectful or say I abandoned you. But I am leaving so your mother understands that a daughter-in-law is not just a piece of clay she can mold however she wants." My mother-in-law let out a scoffing laugh. "How amusing! Demanding to run back to mommy on your wedding night, do you think you're that high and mighty?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Not high and mighty, but I have self-respect." She was about to yell again, but I raised my voice, stronger than hers. "I am leaving under the premise of visiting my parents for a few days to clear my head. If relatives ask, everyone will understand that our household had a disagreement. I am not sneaking out. I am not throwing a tantrum, and I am doing nothing wrong. I am leaving respectfully. And precisely because I am leaving properly, the bad reputation will not fall on me." She froze. I could clearly see the hesitation in her eyes for a split second. She realized what I was saying was absolutely true. I wasn't making a scene. I wasn't running away in tears, and I wasn't screaming. I was leaving like someone who knew exactly what was right, wrong, and proper. And that left her with no excuse to humiliate me. Michael panicked. "Hannah, please don't go. You're here now. I'll beg my mom." I placed my hand over Michael's. "If you love me, let me go for a few days. If you force me to stay here, your mother will only despise me more. But if I leave with dignity, your mother will be forced to reconsider." My mother-in-law slammed her hand on the table. "If you dare step out of that door, don't you dare blame me." I looked at her, my eyes unusually serene. "If you want a daughter-in-law to live with you long-term, Mom, you need to allow her a shred of dignity. I am leaving for a few days and I will return. But if you truly want to kick me out, I will leave permanently. The choice is yours." She choked on her words. I knew I had won right there. Because she hated me, but she loved her social standing even more. If her daughter-in-law left the marital home on the wedding night, and it wasn't because the daughter-in-law did anything wrong, she would be the one gossiped about as an abusive mother-in-law. I turned and walked back upstairs. The most crucial part of my plan, which I deliberately didn't mention, was that I wasn't packing a single thing. I only brought a small handbag and the heirloom jewelry box, the very thing my mother gave me and the catalyst for tonight's explosion. The fact that I didn't pack clothes, didn't pack shoes, didn't take any luggage, would force Barbara to think. I was leaving because I was deeply hurt, not because I was abandoning my marriage or throwing a fit. I intentionally spoke loudly enough for her to hear from downstairs. "I am not taking any belongings because I will be back in a few days. Whether you like it or not, Mom, I am still Michael's wife." I knew that single sentence would choke her up so much she wouldn't be able to form a rebuttal. I walked downstairs one last time, about to say goodbye to Michael, when suddenly the front door burst open. A figure walked in, and everyone's expression immediately shifted. It was Michael's older sister, Teresa, a 37-year-old woman famously known for fearing absolutely no one in this house except maybe her mother. She surveyed the living room, looked at everyone's faces, and then looked at me holding my heirloom box. With just one sentence, she brought the entire house to a standstill. "Mom, what did you do to your daughter-in-law this time?" I stopped in my tracks. My mother-in-law turned pale. Michael breathed a sigh of relief. And I knew that tonight, the situation was about to escalate even further. Teresa walked into the house without even taking off her shoes. She didn't offer a single polite greeting. Her face hardened when she felt the tension in the room, thick as a wire about to snap. She looked at me, a newlywed sister-in-law of less than 24 hours, and then turned to her mother. "Mom, tell me right now, what did you do to her?" Teresa's voice was low, but sharp. She wasn't shouting, she wasn't chaotic, but it was the kind of tone that sent shivers down your spine. Barbara, who was so accustomed to bullying everyone, actually faltered at the sound of her own daughter's voice. I didn't do anything." She defended herself defensively. "She disrespected me first." Teresa crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow. "Disrespected you? You say one sentence, and I'm supposed to believe it? How did she disrespect you?" My mother-in-law was tongue-tied. Michael stepped forward, his voice trembling slightly. "Tara, what happened was, Mom took Hannah's heirloom box." Before he could even finish, Teresa turned to me. "You tell me. Let me hear it straight from my sister-in-law." Her eyes weren't cold, nor were they overbearing. It was the gaze of a seasoned, mature woman, piercing, yet soft enough to inspire trust. I stood up straight. "The heirloom box my biological mother gave me, Mom snatched it right on our wedding night and said she would keep it. When I asked for it back, she got angry. When I kept the box, she threatened to kick me out of the house. I couldn't handle it, so I decided to go back to my parents' house for a few days to let things calm down." Hearing this, Teresa's face turned icy. She whipped her head toward her mother. "Mom! Oh my God! Why are you doing this again?" Barbara slammed her hand on the table. "Why are you defending her? She is an outsider. I am your mother." Teresa took a step forward, pointing a finger at her own temple. "Mom, I am 37 years old, not a child. I can see exactly who is at fault here. Doing something like this on their wedding night. Did you even think about their dignity? Did you think about this poor girl's feelings? I did it for the good of this house." "This house, or your house," Teresa shot back. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut like a razor. My father-in-law sat in the corner, staring at the floor and sighing. He was the same as always, just silent. My mother-in-law gasped in outrage. A brand new daughter-in-law, and she dared to snatch things right out of my hands. I calmly replied, "I didn't snatch it. You set it down, and I simply took it back. I would never disrespect you, Mom, but I cannot let anyone hold on to the gift my own mother gave me." Teresa looked at me and gave a subtle nod. Then she turned back to her mother. "Mom, I'll be honest. If I were her, I would have done the exact same thing. Who on earth snatches a bride's gifts on her wedding night?" Barbara's eyes widened furiously. "So now you're siding with her too?" "I am siding with what is right," Teresa replied bluntly. The atmosphere felt like it was going to explode. Standing next to Michael, listening to every word, I felt goosebumps rising on my arms. Teresa stepped right up to me. "Hannah, you are right. Leaving for a few days, to let things cool off, no one can fault you for that. That is a mature way to handle it. I respect that." She looked directly at her mother. "But listen to me. If you let your daughter-in-law walk out of this house with her bags on her wedding night, the neighbors aren't going to gossip about Hannah. They are going to gossip about you." That sentence made my mother-in-law's face drain of color. Michael spoke up softly. "Tara, I was just about to tell Mom the exact same thing." Teresa placed a hand on Michael's shoulder. "Don't worry, I'll handle this." Then she turned back to her mother. "Mom, this is my final word. If Hannah walks out of that door tonight because you forced her out, then starting tomorrow, I will never step foot in this house again." The room exploded into a deafening silence. "You dare speak to me like that?" My mother-in-law's voice quivered. "Yes, I dare." Teresa didn't flinch. "Because I've endured your personality for 30-odd years. You yell at me, you scold me, I take it. But you messing with your daughter-in-law, snatching her things, forcing her out? I will not stand by and let that happen." I had never seen anyone dare to speak so directly to my mother-in-law. Michael looked at his sister with tears in his eyes, and my father-in-law spoke up for the first time after a long silence. Barbara, listen to Tara. She's not wrong." She silenced him with a sharp wave of her hand. "So everyone is defending her now?" I took a slight step back, feeling a mix of adrenaline and relief. At least I wasn't alone. There were people who understood me, believed me, and stood by my side. Teresa turned to me. Hannah, you're not going anywhere. I won't allow it. Packing your bags and running back to your parents on your wedding night will only make people laugh in both of your faces. Go rest. Tomorrow, Michael and I will drive you over to your parents' house to visit for a few days so you can relax. But tonight, no one is kicking you out. I swallowed the lump in my throat. For the first time since marrying into this family, I felt like I wasn't just floating alone in the dark. But my mother-in-law wasn't ready to concede. She threw her head back. I will not accept a disrespectful daughter-in-law. If she can't live here, she can get out. Teresa sighed heavily. Mom, think very carefully. Was Hannah actually disrespectful? Or are you just used to bullying your daughters-in-law? I don't bully anyone. Then why did you snatch her heirloom box earlier? Barbara couldn't answer. Her sharp eyes darted toward me in frustration, but there was something else in them now. A flicker of fear. Perhaps because Teresa was standing there. Right at that moment, Michael suddenly stepped forward. Mom, I am begging you, please let us have peace tonight. Tomorrow, Tara and I will sit down and talk to you properly. I am begging you, Mom. Michael wasn't the type to easily drop to his knees or beg. He said it so softly, but hearing it made my heart ache. He was trapped between the two most important women in his life. My mother-in-law looked at her son, looked at Teresa, and looked at me. After a long, agonizing pause, she finally forced out a sentence. Fine, tonight I will tolerate this. But I'm telling you right now, a daughter-in-law who doesn't know her place won't last long here. Teresa immediately replied, Don't worry, Mom. Whether she lasts or not depends entirely on how you treat her. Then she pulled my arm. Go upstairs to your room. Let me talk to Mom privately. I was surprised. Should I stay down here? No, go up. This is my job. Michael followed me upstairs, gently closing our bedroom door. We stood in the room, only able to hear muffled echoes from downstairs. We couldn't make out the words, but Teresa's voice was low and steady, while my mother-in-law's voice spiked, sometimes shrill, sometimes choked up. I sat down on the bed, feeling as if my entire body had just survived a Category 5 hurricane. Michael held my hand, still terrified. Tara's here now. No one will dare do anything to you. I looked at Michael, my voice quiet but firm. It's not because Tara is here that I'm not afraid. It's because, from now on, I will no longer stay silent. Michael squeezed my hand. I know, and I will stand by your side. I looked at the heirloom box resting on the desk, but just as I thought things had temporarily settled down, a massive thud echoed from downstairs, followed by my mother-in-law's voice ringing out like steel. I don't care. If this daughter-in-law stays in this house, I will be the one leaving. Just watch me. Michael and I shot up and stared at each other. Neither of us expected her to be willing to abandon her own home just to force my hand, and for the next step, I had to make a choice. The thunderous crash from downstairs made both of us jump. Michael dashed for the bedroom door, and I ran right behind him. The moment we reached the top of the stairs, the scene below stopped me dead in my tracks. My mother-in-law was dragging a massive suitcase out into the middle of the living room. She slammed it onto the hardwood floor, her face flushed crimson, her hair disheveled from rage. Teresa stood opposite her, hands on her hips, her gaze calm but unyielding. My father-in-law was hovering nervously, not knowing whether to intervene or stay silent. Mom, what are you doing? Michael panicked, rushing down the stairs. Where are you going? Barbara pointed a trembling finger straight up to the second-floor landing where I stood. If she is in this house for one more minute, I am leaving. Let me tell you, I built this house. I have the power here. I refuse to live with a daughter-in-law who talks back to her mother-in-law the second she walks through the door. Teresa smirked. Mom, stop shifting the blame onto other people. You were the one in the wrong tonight. Stop screaming. The more you scream, the more people are going to realize you're being unreasonable. So what if I'm unreasonable? She wailed. This whole family is ganging up to defend her. What's the point of me even living here? Robert panicked. What are you talking about, Barbara? Please, calm down. Calm down for what? She cut him off. Even my own daughter is turning against me, and my son dares to defend his wife right to my face. Am I supposed to stay in this house just to be humiliated? Teresa shook her head. No one is humiliating you, Mom. You are making yourself miserable. Barbara shook with rage. Then she pointed directly at me. You! Get down here! I stood perfectly still, my voice steady. Yes, ma'am. I am here. You choose right now. Either I leave this house, or you pack your bags and get out. Michael was frantic. Mom, oh my God, how can anyone live like this? I slowly descended the stairs, one step at a time. Each footfall echoed softly, but made the entire house fall dead silent. I stood tall in front of her, refusing to bow my head. If you want me to leave, Mom, I will leave. I will never allow you to abandon your own home. I don't want outsiders saying the daughter-in-law kicked the mother-in-law out onto the streets. Teresa frowned. Hannah, no, but I looked at my sister-in-law, my voice completely calm. Tara, please let me finish. I do everything according to what is morally right. If my mother-in-law is forced out of her home because of me, how could I ever show my face to anyone? I turned back to Barbara. Mom, a daughter-in-law cannot drive out her mother-in-law. That violates every principle of family respect. If you leave because of me, I will carry the label of an unfilial monster. I will never choose that path. Barbara faltered slightly. It was obvious she didn't expect me to say that. She thought I would argue, fight back, or throw a tantrum, but I wasn't acting the way she anticipated. My absolute calmness completely threw her off balance. Michael held his head. Oh my God, my wife didn't do anything wrong. Mom, how can you force her to leave? I placed a hand on Michael's shoulder, my voice soft but resolute. I am not leaving out of fear. I am leaving to keep the peace, and I am leaving properly. Mom wants me out of the house. I will leave tonight, but I am going to my parents' house. I am not abandoning my husband. I looked directly at her. But there is one more thing I need to say before I go. She narrowed her eyes, the anger still there, but now mixed with caution. What thing? I took a deep breath. I am not leaving to abandon my marriage. I am leaving to give you time to think. I am not taking my belongings because I will return. But when I come back, I hope you won't treat me like a squatter who begs for scraps. I hope you will give me the opportunity to be a proper daughter-in-law. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. I am not finished. Everyone stared at me. The air was so thick you could hear a pin drop. I'll be honest, I am a new daughter-in-law. I know I am inexperienced, and I am not used to living with you yet, but I never, ever want to be disrespectful or look down on you. However, if you continue to confiscate my belongings in such an authoritarian manner, or use your words to demean me, I do not have the strength to endure it. I am straightforward. If something isn't right, I will say it. I am not disrespectful, but I will not stay silent and let someone walk all over me. Michael looked at me with entirely different eyes. Teresa gave a very subtle nod of approval. As for my mother-in-law, she said absolutely nothing. I looked into those steel-hard eyes and continued, and about that heirloom box, please don't try to keep it anymore. Because if you lose something down the line and accuse me of taking it, I won't have any way to defend myself. I keep what's mine, you keep what's yours. That's easier for both of us. She gritted her teeth. Are you saying that if I held on to it, I'd frame you for theft? I wouldn't dare, I replied calmly. But between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law, it's best to have clear boundaries. Clarity prevents suspicion. That sentence was a needle pricking her deepest vulnerability, her pride and her self-righteousness. Teresa placed a hand on my shoulder and whispered, You've got a spine of steel, sis. I support you. Michael squeezed my hand. No one thought I could stand in front of my mother-in-law and deliver those words respectful, yet razor-sharp. My mother-in-law stared at me, searching for an excuse to snap back, but she couldn't find one. After a long silence, she tilted her head up. If that's what you say, I won't stop you from going back to your parents for a few days. But remember, if you want to live in this house, you have to know your place. I immediately responded, I know my place. But I also hope you view me as family, not as an ungrateful outsider. An invisible tension hung in the air between us, not explosive, not cold, just the exhaustion of two women testing each other's limits. Teresa finally spoke up to end it. All right, that's enough. Both sides need to take a step back. Hannah, tomorrow I will drive you to your parents' house. Mom, you need to go to bed tonight. You're too angry, and saying ugly things right now is just exhausting for everyone. My mother-in-law stayed silent. She didn't nod, and she didn't shake her head. But sometimes, silence is a form of acceptance. I gave a slight bow and headed back upstairs. Michael followed, closing the door behind us. He pulled me into his arms. I'm so sorry I made you go through this. I rested my head against his chest. It's not your fault. It's just that your mother's personality is too domineering. I need time to adjust. I promise. Next time, I will stand up for you more. I won't leave you to face this alone. I held his hand. My eyes burned, but I refused to cry. I thought, finally, I could breathe tonight. But right at that moment, the notification ping sounded from Michael's phone. He opened it, and the color instantly drained from his face. Who is it? I asked. Michael tilted the screen toward me. It was a text from an unknown number. The message was short. Married or not, it doesn't change anything. Remember your promise tonight. A chill ran down my spine. I knew immediately that a new storm was rolling in. I stared at his phone screen, feeling as if someone had just dumped a bucket of ice water over my head. That short, abrupt message felt like a silent, stinging slap to the face. Married or not, it doesn't change anything. Remember your promise tonight. I looked up at Michael. He was pale, his lips pressed together so tightly they were almost white. Who is this? I asked. My voice was terrifyingly calm. Michael opened his mouth a few times before he could finally speak. Please, stay calm. I can explain. I gripped the heirloom box tightly in my hand. The drama with my mother-in-law hadn't even settled yet, and now this? On my wedding night, a strange woman was texting my husband, telling him to remember his promise. I tried to suppress the urge to scream. If I lost control, I would be at a disadvantage. I exhaled very slowly. Answer me. Who texted you? Michael sat down on the edge of the bed, his hands trembling slightly. Someone who used to have a crush on me. But I have absolutely nothing going on with her. So what was the promise? Michael swallowed hard. I could clearly see his chest heaving. Oh my God. I just said a few polite things to brush her off. I was afraid she'd keep bothering me, so I told her we'd talk about it later. I didn't promise her anything. I looked straight into his eyes. I believed he truly loved me. But men sometimes brush off things they think are minor, not realizing they are stabbing a knife straight into a woman's heart. I kept my voice even. Michael, tell me clearly. Before the wedding, were you seeing her? Michael jolted and vigorously shook his head. No, I swear. I just knew her. She approached me first. I kept my distance, but she was close enough to text you something like that on your wedding night. Michael bit his lip and fell silent. That silence sent a sharp, distinct pain through my heart. I leaned against the dresser, taking a deep breath to keep my mind sharp. I wouldn't allow myself to be blindly jealous, could I demanded the truth. Are you still in contact with her? Michael spoke softly. She texts me sometimes. I never reply. I just read them occasionally. I don't care about her. I gritted my teeth. Just reading them is enough to give her false hope. Michael sighed, holding his head. I was wrong. I admit I was wrong, but I never betrayed you. I married you because I love you. I never thought about anyone else. My heart softened a fraction, but logic quickly pulled me back. If I yielded too quickly, I would fall into the cycle of women who allow themselves to be disrespected. I sat down opposite him. Do you have any idea how hard I just fought your mother to keep a shred of dignity for myself? A text message like this is just another stab wound. Michael grabbed my hand. I'm sorry. Let me block her. I'll do it right now. He unlocked his phone and blocked the number. Make sure you do it thoroughly, I said. Delete the chat history too. I saw genuine remorse in his actions, but the crack was still there. Michael looked at me, his eyes pleading. Please, believe me. I stayed silent. I didn't nod, and I didn't shake my head. Michael lowered his gaze, his voice choked up. Hannah, please don't just sit in silence like this. It terrifies me. I didn't answer right away. I stood up and opened the glass balcony door, looking out into the yard. The night breeze swept into the room, cold but sobering. After a long while, I finally spoke. Michael, I am not leaving you. But from now on, you have to be completely transparent with me about everything. If I ever catch you being vague or leading someone on like this again, I won't stay. Michael nodded vigorously. I know. I swear I will never let you get hurt again. I turned to look at him. That means you know you hurt me today. I slowly walked back and sat beside him. Before I could say anything else, a soft knock came from the door. Michael? Hannah? Open up. It was Teresa. Michael opened the door. Teresa stepped inside. She no longer looked angry, but deeply thoughtful. I came up to see if you two were okay. Mom has calmed down downstairs, but she's still pretty bitter. I sighed. I figured. Teresa looked at me, then at Michael, and suddenly asked, Were you two fighting? Why is the tension so thick in here? Before I could open my mouth, Michael stammered. No, just some minor stuff, Tara. Teresa narrowed her eyes. It was obvious she didn't believe him. I decided to be direct. I didn't choose this route to cause more drama, but so Michael would understand that hiding things is never the solution. Tara, a strange woman, texted Michael just a few minutes ago. Michael hung his head. Teresa's eyes widened. What? Who was it? I handed my phone to her to show her the screenshot I'd taken. She read it, and the color drained from her face. Oh my God, who is this tramp? Michael frantically tried to explain. Tara, I swear I have nothing going on with her. Teresa looked at Michael with eyes full of both pity and reproach. Michael, you are too soft, and people walk all over you because of it. Girls these days are cunning. If you aren't definitive, they'll think you still have feelings for them. Hearing that made it even clearer to me. This wasn't about petty jealousy. This was about setting boundaries. Teresa handed the phone back to me and said something that left Michael speechless. Hannah is right. If she had heard about this before the wedding, she would have every right to reconsider. Michael was startled. Tara. Teresa waved her hand dismissively. I'm telling the truth. Even if you didn't physically cheat, letting another woman be ambiguous with you is wrong. She then looked at me, her gaze piercing. My sister-in-law is a smart woman. Don't let this make you weak, Hannah. Right now, you need to be strong so Michael knows you aren't the kind of wife who can be pacified with a simple I'm sorry. I nodded slowly. Michael kept his head down like a child being scolded. I looked at Michael. You heard what Tara said. I'm not going to blow this out of proportion, but remember this. I will not tolerate this a second time. Michael gently squeezed my hand, his voice low. I understand. Teresa stood up. All right, you two get some rest. Mom is quiet for now, but Hannah still has to face her tomorrow. Go to sleep. You're with Michael. You have nothing to fear. I nodded. Teresa walked out, closing the door softly behind her. The room sank back into silence. Michael sat beside me, his hand still holding mine, refusing to let go. After a long time, Michael whispered, Hannah, are you still mad at me? I looked at him, my eyes softening just a fraction. I am, but I know you didn't cheat. I'm just exhausted. Michael pulled me into his arms. I closed my eyes, but before I drifted off, I made a silent promise to myself. A difficult mother-in-law was one thing. A husband with blurry boundaries was another. This wedding night was not meant for the weak. I had to be stronger. But little did I know that the next morning, before I even had the chance to leave for my parents' house, that mysterious girl would appear right at the front gate of my in-laws' home, carrying a statement that would leave the entire family paralyzed with shock. The next morning, I had barely managed to get a little sleep when Teresa's loud voice echoed from downstairs. Michael, Hannah, get down here. Her voice was urgent, not her usual tone. I bolted upright, a wave of anxiety washing over me. Michael didn't even put his slippers on before running out, and I chased after him down the stairs. As soon as my feet hit the living room floor, I stopped dead in my tracks. A strange woman was standing in the middle of the room. Her makeup was flawlessly done. She wore bold red lipstick and a tight, form-fitting dress. Her eyes were cold and slightly arrogant. She stood with her arms crossed, staring directly at my mother-in-law as if she owned the place. My mother-in-law's face was pale with shock, and Teresa stood off to the side, her eyes flashing dangerously. I instantly understood. This was the woman who had texted Michael last night. The moment Michael saw her, his whole body stiffened. "Chloe, why are you here?" he stammered. With just that one sentence, I knew for a fact that Michael truly knew her. It might not have been a full-blown affair, but she wasn't a stranger. The woman named Chloe gave a mocking smile. "I came to find you. Did you really think blocking my number meant I would just let it go?" Teresa immediately stepped forward, blocking Michael. "Who are you to barge into someone else's house bright and early in the morning?" Chloe rolled her eyes. "I am the person Michael promised to talk to clearly once he settled down. And I am here for him to fulfill that promise." The whole family looked at Michael. He was ashen. I kept my voice perfectly even. "How did you get in here?" Chloe looked me up and down, her gaze dripping with blatant contempt, as if she viewed me as a mere afterthought. Michael's mother opened the door for me. She looked at my mother-in-law and offered a sickeningly sweet smile. Mrs. Harrison even invited me in. I whipped my head toward my mother-in-law. She panicked. I didn't know who she was. She said she was looking for Michael. I thought she was a friend of his." Teresa cut her off. "Mom, let me tell you something. In this day and age, a strange woman looking for a married man bright and early in the morning only means one thing. By letting her into this house, you just invited a massive scandal right into our living room." My mother-in-law lowered her head, embarrassed. Chloe boldly maintained eye contact with me. "I just came to talk to Michael. That's all." I stood perfectly straight, my hands steady, my voice chillingly natural. "If you need to talk to him, say it right in front of me. I am his wife." Chloe smirked. "Wife? So what? Do you think a marriage certificate actually binds someone's feelings?" Michael turned pale. "Chloe, shut up." Chloe looked at Michael, her voice light but sharp as a razor. "I'm only speaking the truth. If you truly loved your wife, you would have blocked my number a long time ago. You let me text you because you were still holding on to something, weren't you?" Michael took a step back, his eyes frantic, unable to look at me. My heart stung, but I kept my face utterly composed. I didn't cry. I didn't show a single ounce of weakness. Teresa snapped. "Watch your mouth. That is incredibly disrespectful. This is someone else's home, not a stage for your theatrics." Chloe turned to Teresa, snapping back. "I am talking to Michael, not you." Then she looked at Michael, her eyes softening. "Michael, I love you. I do not accept you marrying someone else. I came here so you could explain everything clearly in front of your wife. Tell me, did you ever make a promise to me?" Michael stammered. I only said a few things to get you to stop bothering me." Chloe burst into laughter. "Bothering you? You told me to wait until you were stable in your career, until your family was settled, and then we would talk about our future." "A future with who? Why don't you tell her that?" That sentence landed like a punch squarely to Michael's jaw. The entire house fell dead silent. I looked at Michael. My eyes held no jealousy, no anger, just absolute clarity. Michael was visibly panicking. I didn't mean it like that. I was afraid that if I was too harsh, you'd do something crazy." "Do something crazy?" Chloe smirked. "I haven't even done anything yet, and you're already terrified. Or are you terrified? I'll tell your wife about our past." The atmosphere exploded. My mother-in-law began to tremble. "What past?" Chloe narrowed her eyes. "Oh, you don't know, Mrs. Harrison. Michael and I." I stepped forward and raised a hand to silence her. "Chloe, I am giving you exactly 1 minute. Say everything you want to say, but tell the truth, no embellishing, no fabricating. If you say a single lie, you will face the consequences." No one expected me to be so calm. Chloe faltered for a second, but then lifted her chin. "Fine. I'll say it." She turned to everyone in the room. During the time Michael was dating Hannah, Michael was also talking to me. It wasn't dating, but it was close enough that he confided in me. He told me about his family stress, and he relied on me for emotional support whenever he felt pressured. That revelation made my mother-in-law immediately turn and scold Michael. You dared to do that while you were with your fiancé. Michael held his head in his hands. I just viewed her as a friend who texts you on your wedding night. Teresa challenged fiercely. Chloe continued, intentionally driving Michael into the ground. And he promised me that when his career and family were stable, we would have a serious conversation about our romantic feelings. That was the promise he made. I looked at Michael. He was pale, his lips trembling. I was wrong. I admit I was wrong. But I don't love her. I only slipped up and said the wrong thing. Chloe looked at me, smiling defiantly. You see that? He loves you, but he made promises to me. I'm not trying to steal your husband, but I want him to clarify everything, right here, right in front of you. I took a deep breath. I am not the type of woman to scream, "You cheated on me." But I absolutely refuse to accept a man who leaves doors open for others to cling to. I looked straight at Michael, my voice slow but cutting like glass. Michael, tell me right now. What was the promise? Michael looked up at me like a man about to lose everything. I was wrong. I admit I said a few things that made her misunderstand, but I do not love her. I love you. I married you because I chose you. Hannah, please believe me. I remained silent, and that silence made Michael shake even more. Chloe looked at me, thinking I was about to break, and dropped another line. See? I don't even want Michael anymore. But you should know that your husband isn't as perfect as you think. That was the last straw for my husband's family. Teresa stepped forward. Get out of this house right now. This is not a place for you to come and lecture people. Chloe glared at her. I have the right to speak, and I have the right to be here. Right at that moment, a voice rang out from the front door, causing everyone to turn their heads simultaneously. My biological mother, Sarah, was standing in the doorway. Her face was as cold as winter wind, her eyes so sharp that anyone looking at her would feel a jolt of fear. My mother stared straight at Chloe. Young lady, let me ask you this. Did you come here to have a conversation, or did you come here to destroy someone's home? Chloe took a half step back. My mother stepped into the living room, enunciating every word perfectly. Let me tell you something. You have the right to like whoever you want and love whoever you want. But you absolutely do not have the right to walk into someone else's house on the morning after their wedding and stand here spewing insults at people. Teresa nodded emphatically. That's exactly what I've been saying, Mrs. Sarah. I stood frozen. I hadn't called my mother, but she had come. My mother turned to Michael, her voice calm but as sharp as a scalpel. Michael, I will only ask you this once. As of today, have you cut ties with her completely? Michael answered immediately, like a man finding a lifeline. Yes, Mom, I cut her off. I blocked her. I will never, ever contact her again. My mother nodded, then turned back to Chloe. Then, you have absolutely no reason to stay here. Chloe bit her lip. I just wanted to tell the truth. The truth doesn't need to be told in a place where you don't belong, my mother replied sharply. That sentence rendered Chloe speechless. Teresa opened the front door and pointed straight out. Please leave. Chloe gave Michael one last look, as if regretting something, and then turned and walked away. When the door closed, my mother turned to me. When a daughter-in-law is subjected to something like this, the very morning after her wedding, it is the fault of the adults, not the bride. My mother-in-law bowed her head, completely silent. Michael walked over and took my hand. Hannah, I'm so sorry. I was wrong, and I will fix it. I swear to your mother, and I swear to you. I looked around the tense, suffocating room. I was exhausted, but my eyes lit up with one realization. I had my own mother standing behind me, and I had Teresa standing beside me. And I knew that from today on, no one would find it easy to bully me. But the story didn't end there, because right after Chloe left, my mother-in-law lifted her head. Her eyes were filled with a fierce, almost murderous intensity, and she delivered a sentence that left the entire room paralyzed. Hannah, did you think this was over just because she left? I am far more shocked than you are, and I have something to say something about Michael that even you might not have the courage to hear. The house had barely been quiet for a few seconds after Chloe walked out when my mother-in-law suddenly stood up abruptly. She looked at me with eyes that were shocked, angry, and held something deeply strange. My father-in-law, sitting next to her, jumped. "Hannah, do you think you're so smart?" Her voice was choked, yet still pitched high. "Let me tell you, I am 100 times more shocked than you are." The entire room turned to her. I maintained my composure. "Mom, please speak clearly." My mother-in-law took a deep, sharp breath, her voice trembling like someone trying to suppress a massive wave of emotion. I had no idea. Michael said those things to that girl. Hearing it just now made my world go dark. I gave birth to him, I raised him properly, and he dared to humiliate my daughter-in-law on her wedding night. Michael hung his head, his face stark white. "Mom, I'm sorry." She swatted his apology away. "Shut up. You shut up and let me speak." Teresa looked at her mother in mild surprise. It was clear that even she couldn't predict where her mother was going with this. My mother stood next to me, watching Barbara with a calm, guarded gaze. "Go ahead, Barbara. If there's something to say, lay it all out." Barbara looked at my mother, then at me. Her voice unexpectedly dropped. "Hannah, I know you are a gentle girl. I can see it. I don't hate you. I hate the kind of daughter-in-law who talks back to her mother-in-law the second she walks into the house. But since things have escalated to this point, I have to tell you something before you decide whether you're going to keep living with Michael." My entire body went cold. Teresa frowned. "Mom, stop beating around the bush, just spit it out." My mother-in-law gripped the edge of the dining table so tightly her knuckles turned white. She looked at me, her eyes red. For the first time since yesterday, I saw genuine vulnerability in her eyes. "Michael," she swallowed hard. "He was once utterly destroyed by a girl who played with his feelings. Since then, he's been terrified of hurting people. He's terrified of people throwing fits and causing scenes, which is why he said such idiotic things to Chloe. He was too scared to cut her off harshly. He was afraid she'd do something crazy." I looked at Michael. He buried his head in his hands, as if he couldn't bear having his past dragged out into the light. My mother-in-law continued, her voice thick. "But that isn't the main issue. What I'm about to say is what really matters." I held my breath. "Before he met you, he had a girl pursuing him relentlessly. She was genuinely insane. She stalked Michael for a whole year. She showed up at his office and made a scene. She threatened suicide. She sent explicit photos and demanded Michael take responsibility. Michael was weak back then. Your father-in-law was sick, and I was stressed about family matters. I had to personally go down to that girl's house to talk to her, to beg her, and even plead on my knees for her to stop ruining my son's life." The room was dead silent. Even Teresa whispered, "Mom, you literally begged someone on your knees? I didn't know about this." My mother-in-law's eyes welled with tears. "I didn't want anyone to know. I hid everything. I was terrified the neighbors would talk. I was terrified people would think my son was damaged goods. I was terrified that if his future daughter-in-law found out, she would run away in fear. I just wanted Michael to stabilize. I wanted him to marry a decent girl." I stood there like a statue. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that beneath her overbearing, gruff exterior lay secrets she had swallowed whole without saying a word. My mother placed a gentle hand on Barbara's shoulder. "That must have been incredibly hard for you to bear, Barbara." My mother-in-law choked out a sob. "It was hard. But no one knew, I thought. I thought when Michael managed to marry a good girl like Hannah, I would be so happy. But I was terrified. I was terrified history would repeat itself. I was terrified my son would be tortured by a woman again. That's why I was so harsh with him. And harsh with you. I wanted to test you, to see if you could handle it, to see if you truly loved my son." I couldn't speak. I never realized the root of her tormenting me stemmed from pure terror. A fear so deep it had mutated into thorns, into suffocating control. But she wasn't finished. "And as for that Chloe girl, I know her. I know she chased Michael back when he worked at his old company. I saw her standing outside our gate a few times. I knew she was trouble. So when she knocked on the door this morning, I opened it because I thought she was an acquaintance of Michael's. When she started talking, I wanted to pass out right there." Teresa rubbed her temples. "Mom, You literally invited disaster right into your own living room. My mother-in-law cried even harder. I know I did. I opened the door because I thought someone came to congratulate the newlyweds. Who would have thought? Oh my God. I wanted to kick her out, but she kept mouthing off. I was so shocked, I just stood there frozen. I stood in silence, looking at her. Barbara, the woman who last night demanded I be thrown out of the house, the fierce, power-hungry matriarch, was now standing before me as a mother who had once fallen to her knees to save her son. I couldn't help but be moved. My mother spoke softly. Barbara, every mother is terrified of seeing her child suffer, but the way you act easily makes people misunderstand you. Barbara wiped her tears and turned to me. Hannah, I apologize if I hurt you. But listen to me. Michael is weak when it comes to these things. He is easily manipulated because he's terrified of hurting others. You have to be tough. You have to be strict, so he understands boundaries. But you have to love him. He is not a bad person. He is just scared. Michael looked up, his eyes red. Mom, please stop. Barbara grabbed his arm. Let me finish. I was wrong to snatch the heirloom box. I was wrong to yell. But I was not wrong in fearing my son would be ruined by another woman. She turned back to me. Hannah, think carefully. If you want to go back to your parents' house for a few days, you can. But please don't leave Michael. He loves you. And as for that Chloe girl, leave her to me. I made a mistake with the dowry. I will fix it. But when it comes to women harassing my son, I will stand on the front lines. Saying that, she walked right up to me. She didn't drop to her knees, but she looked me straight in the eyes with the most sincere gaze I had seen since stepping foot in this house. I apologize to you because I let my temper get the best of me. Please don't leave him over this. I felt a lump in my throat. I couldn't help but be deeply touched, but I also couldn't immediately soften. I looked at Michael. Michael, do you have anything else to say? He walked over and stood in front of me, his eyes bloodshot. Hannah, I was wrong, but I swear, from this moment on, no one but you will ever step into my life. I was clear with Chloe. I will never let anyone hurt you again. He took my hand. If you want to go back to Evanston for a few days, I will take you. But when you come back, I want you to come back for me, not because anyone forced you. I looked around the room, which had been a literal battlefield just last night. Teresa looked at me and gave a slight nod. My own mother placed a very gentle hand on my back. I took a deep breath. Mom, I am not making any decisions today, but I am not leaving Michael. I just need time. My mother-in-law nodded, exhaling as if a massive weight had been lifted. Take as long as you need. Just tell me. I went upstairs to the bedroom. I didn't cry, but my heart was a tangled mess. I didn't know if I should leave or stay. And I certainly had no idea that the event that would force me to make my ultimate decision would happen that very evening. An event no one in the house could have predicted. That afternoon, after everything that had transpired, the house fell into an eerily quiet state. There was no more shouting, no heavy sighs, no scraping of chairs, only the heavy breathing of people suspended in uncertainty, sharing the same roof. My mother-in-law and my mother sat in the living room, talking quietly. Teresa went out to buy some food because no one had managed to swallow a bite since morning. Michael sat next to me, looking as if he were terrified that if he looked away for even a second, I would vanish. I sat on the edge of the bed, hugging my knees, drowning in my chaotic thoughts. I didn't want to leave Michael. I saw genuine remorse in him, and I also saw the fear in his eyes. He wasn't a serial cheater. He was just weak. He was afraid of setting harsh boundaries, and that weakness was what hurt me. As I sat there, Michael spoke softly. Are you still furious with me? I didn't look at him. I am. But I love you more than I'm angry with you. Michael rested his head on my knee, intertwining his fingers with mine. I know you're exhausted. I swear on everything. I will not let any other woman interfere in our lives ever again. I messed up once. There will not be a second time. I turned to look at him. His eyes were red, his lips pressed tight as if punishing himself. I sighed. I'm not afraid of someone else interfering. I am afraid you aren't strong enough to block them out. Michael gripped my hand, his voice fierce. I will be strong. I have to be strong for my wife. A moment later, Michael's phone rang, startling both of us. I glanced at the screen. An unknown number. Michael immediately muted the ringer, but before he could exhale, a text message popped up on the screen. Michael, did we talk this through? I'm waiting for your final answer. My heart tightened. Michael muttered a curse under his breath and blocked the number without a second thought. He looked up at me. Hannah, I don't want you to read any more of this. I've blocked them all. I said nothing, but a nagging thought pushed to the forefront of my mind. If she was truly this stubborn, this wasn't going to end easily. That evening, Teresa came back with food and a few essentials. The atmosphere was lighter than in the morning, but it still wasn't completely peaceful. Everyone was trying hard not to bring up what had happened. I managed to eat a few bites before putting my fork down. My body felt utterly drained. Michael looked at me. Do you want to rest? I nodded. Teresa, understanding the situation, said, Go upstairs. Mom and I will clean up down here. I walked upstairs, Michael following closely behind. I had barely laid down when the doorbell rang out. Ding dong, rapid, urgent ringing, as if someone was repeatedly smashing the button. I bolted upright immediately. Who is ringing the bell like that? Michael ran to the balcony and looked down. His face instantly turned to stone. Oh my God, it's Chloe. Why is she back? I stepped out to look. It really was her. Chloe stood at the front gate, her face flushed with anger, banging her hand heavily against the iron gate. My mother-in-law ran out from the living room. What is wrong with this girl? Is she crazy? Teresa yelled outright. Are you out of your mind? Michael turned to me. Hannah, stay in the room. I'm going down. I grabbed his arm. No, I'm coming down too. Michael shook his head. You coming down will only make things messier. I can handle it. But I looked him dead in the eye. I am not hiding in a room while someone publicly insults me. I am your wife. I can face this. Michael bit his lip, but eventually nodded. We both walked downstairs. As soon as the door opened, Chloe threw her phone onto the patio. The screen shattered. Michael, are you trying to run away from me? My mother-in-law screamed. What are you doing? Chloe stood defiant. I am talking to Michael, no one else. She pointed straight at me. And you're quite the actress. Do you think you're so sweet and innocent? I remained perfectly calm. Why are you here? I thought we made things very clear this morning. Chloe burst into laughter. Clear? You think I'd just let it go that easily? Michael still owes me an answer. I want to hear it from his own mouth, right in front of you. The house was in an uproar. Michael stepped in front of me. Chloe, go home. I have absolutely nothing going on with you. I already told you. I was talking to you, not my wife. Chloe screamed. Then, she did something no one expected. She pulled a piece of paper, folded into quarters, out of her purse. Teresa yelled, What are you doing? Chloe unfolded the paper and held it up high. This is the proof I want to talk about. Everyone stared in shock. The paper was Michael's resignation letter from his previous corporate job. At the bottom, in small, handwritten text, someone had added, When I am stable, I will come back to you. I was dizzy. Michael looked at the paper, his face draining of all color. I didn't write that. I did not write that. Where did you get that paper? Chloe smiled a toxic, bitter smile. You didn't write it. That's right. I wrote it. But you signed the resignation letter. I just added one line. You know this. I worked in HR back then. I kept the original file. After you signed it, I just tweaked it a little bit. Just a little. Teresa screamed. Are you completely insane? My mother-in-law shook violently. Oh my God, this is karma. Chloe looked at me, lowering her voice, making it sound even sharper. You see that? Michael didn't cheat on you, but he let other people use him. All I needed was one handwritten line, and he never objected. Why? Because he needed me to help him process his resignation smoothly. I helped him, so he owed me. I looked at Michael. He shook his head frantically. No, Hannah, believe me. I never promised her anything. I signed the form and went straight home. I had no idea she altered it. Chloe stepped closer to the gate, her eyes red. So tell me now, right in front of your wife, who do you choose? I don't even need you to love me. But tell me clearly, am I just a nuisance to you? If you dare say yes, I will leave. I will disappear from your life. Michael was choking on his words. Chloe enunciated every syllable, her voice shaking but full of defiance. And if you can't say it, it means you're still afraid of me. It means you're still keeping me on the hook. She looked at me. And Hannah, can you really survive living with a husband like that? The courtyard was dead silent. Every eye was fixed on Michael. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain, fear, and helplessness. I waited for him. My mother-in-law waited for him. Chloe waited for him. The entire family waited for him. After a long moment, Michael clenched his fists, gritted his teeth, stepped right up to the gate, and stared directly at Chloe. Yes, you are a nuisance, and I do not want anything to do with you ever again. Do not ever show your face to me or my wife again. Chloe froze. A tear rolled down her cheek, but she didn't leave. She just said one single sentence that stopped the entire family in their tracks. Fine. I'm leaving. But Hannah, watch your back. Do you think you've won? You have no idea what else Michael is hiding from you. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving behind a sentence that felt like shards of glass raining into my chest. I turned to Michael. He was stiff as a board. I asked, my voice incredibly soft but sharp as a scalpel, Michael, what does she mean by that? Michael opened his mouth, but no sound came out. And I knew that tonight, I was going to hear a truth that I might not be able to endure. After Chloe disappeared down the street, the whole family remained frozen in place, as if someone had hit the pause button. Her final words still echoed in my head. You have no idea what else Michael is hiding from you. I looked at Michael. He stood immobilized, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles were bone white. All the color had drained from his face. I knew I had to listen. I had to know the truth, no matter how excruciating it was. My mother-in-law whispered, Michael, what else are you hiding from her? Michael didn't answer. He just stared at the brick patio, breathing heavily, looking like a man on the verge of passing out. I stepped forward, stood right in front of him, and spoke very softly, but articulating every single word. Michael, I am asking you one last time. What else is there that I don't know? Michael trembled. He looked at me with the eyes of a man backed into a corner, with absolutely no escape route left. He swallowed hard and exhaled the words. Let's go up to our room. I'll tell you. I gave a slight nod. My mother and Teresa started to follow us up, but as we reached the bedroom door, Michael turned around. Please, I just want to talk to Hannah. This is between the two of us. The family understood. No one pushed. They stepped back. I walked into the room, and Michael closed and locked the door. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Michael stood for a long, long time before finally sitting on the edge of the bed. He rested his forehead in his hands, taking a deep breath, gathering the courage of a man pushed to the absolute brink. Hannah, I'm sorry. I have to apologize before I even begin. I stood perfectly still, my hands clasped together. Tell me. Michael looked up, his eyes bloodshot. That stuff with Chloe, that wasn't the main issue. She was right about a few things. I was weak, but it wasn't out of love. I was going through a massive crisis, and the person who caused that crisis wasn't Chloe. I waited in silence. Michael let out a long sigh, one so deep it felt like it would crack his ribs. Back then, I was about to marry someone else. I froze. It felt as if someone had violently yanked my heart down to my ankles. Slowly, I asked, An ex? Michael nodded, his voice fracturing. We had an engagement party. We were prepping for the wedding. I loved her so much. So much. Then, his voice dropped to a whisper. And then, out of nowhere, she left. No reason. Not a single word. I gripped the edge of the bed frame to steady myself. Michael continued. She blocked my number, blocked me on social media, cut off all contact. Her family wouldn't answer my calls either. I woke up one morning and lost the love of my life, and my entire future. I thought we were a sure thing. My heart cramped painfully. Michael went on, his voice sounding like he was choking on blood. I searched for her for months. I drove all the way across the state to her hometown, tracking down her relatives, her friends. No one knew anything, or they were hiding it. I completely collapsed. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Michael lowered his head, his voice fading to a thread. And that's when Chloe showed up. It wasn't because I loved her. It was because I was so broken, so weak. Anyone who got close to me, I just clung to them a little bit, just to fill that horrific, gaping void. I looked at Michael, my head buzzing. Clearly, he was telling the truth. And clearly, this wound was vastly deeper than I ever could have imagined. But I had to ask, why did she leave you? Michael let out a laugh so full of agony it tore at my soul. Because I was poor. I jerked my head up. As the wedding got closer, she told me I couldn't provide the future she wanted. She wanted to live a luxurious life, and I was just a corporate employee working for a paycheck. She said exactly 3 sentences to me. Michael looked up at me. 3 sentences that I still want to die every time I hear them. You can't provide for me. I don't want to struggle. Your family isn't good enough. I stopped breathing. Michael sighed heavily, gripping his shirt. My mom had to stay awake with me all night that night. I was like a madman. It hurt so much I didn't dare love anyone else again. Whenever anyone got close, I was terrified. Terrified they would leave me like she did. Terrified they would say I was poor. Terrified they would look down on my family. Terrified they would get bored of me after we married. I asked softly, "And what about me?" Michael looked at me with eyes that seemed to want to reach into the very depths of my soul. You made me believe in people again. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of being abandoned. You made me feel like I was worthy of being truly loved. I married you because I chose you, not because she left. Hearing that, my heart softened, but the lump in my throat remained. But Michael wasn't finished. He lowered his head, his voice barely a whisper. And because of that trauma, I was terrified of hurting anyone else. When Chloe kept clinging to me, I didn't dare cut her off harshly. I was afraid she would cause a scene. I was wrong. I was a coward. But I swear to you, I did not love her. Never. I stood in silence for a very long time. Michael looked at me, his eyes fearful, like a lost child. Hannah, please don't leave me. Can you do that? I sat down next to him, my voice raspy. Michael, do you think I would leave you that easily? He gripped my hand tightly, shaking. You're all I have left. I leaned over and rested my head on his shoulder. After a long while, I finally spoke. I don't blame you for your past. But remember this. The past is meant for us to learn from, not to use as an excuse to be terrified and abandon our boundaries. Michael nodded vigorously. I know that now. I will make a clean break with the past. I will learn to be stronger. For you, I choked up. Michael, I'm not afraid of your past. I'm just afraid your ex will come back. Michael jumped. No, never. She vanished. She'll never come back. But I looked deep into his eyes and asked, Michael, are you sure about that? He nodded forcefully. Too fast. And that rapid, jerky nod made my heart sink, because it wasn't the nod of certainty. It was the knee-jerk reflex of someone trying to hide something. I could clearly sense that Michael hadn't told me everything. But before I could press him further, a loud shout from my mother-in-law erupted from downstairs. Michael, Hannah, get down here. Something happened. Michael and I sprinted to the door. As soon as we reached the bottom of the staircase, I saw a strange woman standing in the middle of the living room. It wasn't Chloe. It was someone else. A woman wearing a pale blue dress, her face classically beautiful and gentle, her eyes sorrowful but sharp. She looked at Michael. Michael froze. I looked at Michael, his mouth dropped open, and exactly 2 words escaped his lips. Oh my God. Sophia. I stood paralyzed. My heart skipped a beat. Sophia. The name of the ex-fiancé. The one who had abandoned him without a single reason. And she had just materialized right in my in-laws' living room. The look in her eyes as she stared at Michael. It was a look that had never truly let go. The living room froze the exact second. Michael blurted out her name. Sophia. The entire family whipped their heads around, while I stood frozen, feeling as if someone had just slapped me directly in the heart. The woman standing in front of me, Sophia, the woman Michael had wanted to marry, the one who broke him to the point of collapse, was standing right inside the front door of my new home. And the most terrifying part wasn't the fact that she was there. It was the look in Michael's eyes when he saw her. It wasn't a look of anger. It wasn't indifference. It was a look of pure, unadulterated shock that reached the deepest, darkest corners of his memories. I bit my lip slightly to maintain my composure. Sophia took a step forward, her hands trembling slightly, but her voice was incredibly soft. Michael. It's been a long time. My mother-in-law's eyes bulged. Who are you? Sophia bowed her head respectfully. I'm Sophia, the one who, from before. Teresa gasped loudly. Oh my God, Sophia? The Sophia who just vanished into thin air? Sophia offered a faint smile, her eyes still glued to Michael. Yes, it's me. The room erupted in shocked gasps. My mother stood in the background, her gaze wary, while I felt like I could only hear the sound of my own heartbeat. Michael took a step back, his voice dropping to a whisper. Why are you here? You're still alive. Didn't you move to Europe? I was stunned. Michael thought she had moved to Europe, which meant he had no idea why she had actually disappeared. The story was getting more convoluted by the second. Sophia bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes. Michael, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for leaving that day without a single word. I had a reason I couldn't tell you back then. I suddenly spoke up, my voice calm but sharp as steel. Sophia, did you come here to apologize, or did you come here looking for Michael? Sophia turned to me. For the first time, her eyes met mine directly. Not hostile, not disdainful, but filled with absolute resolve. I came to tell the whole truth, because if I don't say it, I will regret it for the rest of my life. My mother-in-law snapped. Whatever you have to say it quickly. My son just got married. Don't come in here making a mess of things. Sophia nodded slightly. I'm only here to tell the truth. I won't cause any trouble. Then she turned back to Michael, her eyes red. Michael, I didn't leave because you were poor. Michael's eyes widened. Then why? The house was dead silent. Sophia took a long, deep breath. Because my mother forced me. Because my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer. My family was drowning in a massive mountain of medical debt and bankruptcy. I had no other choice but to accept an offer from an older, very wealthy man who wanted a companion. In exchange, he paid off my family's debts. The entire family was stunned. I felt as if something heavy had just crashed down inside my chest. Sophia continued, her voice trembling. I didn't want you to know. I was terrified you would try to follow me, terrified you would get dragged into the mess, terrified you would suffer because of me. I chose to disappear because I wanted you to hate me. I wanted you to let go. Michael staggered backward. You got married? Sophia shook her head. No, I only signed a contract to act as his caretaker while he was ill. My family used the money to pay off the debts. When it was over, I was allowed to leave. I got my freedom back. My mother-in-law blurted out, Oh my God. Teresa sighed heavily, her gaze a mix of pity and confusion. Michael choked on his words. So why? Why did you come back now? That question hurt me. Not out of jealousy, but because I could hear a lingering obsession in his voice that had never truly closed. Sophia wiped away her tears, speaking slowly. I came back because I saw photos of your wedding online. I was happy for you, but my heart ached so much. I thought it was finally time to tell you the truth, so you wouldn't have to keep torturing yourself, thinking you weren't good enough for me. I bit my lip hard. She knew Michael was deeply traumatized because of her, and she came back to explain. But Sophia wasn't finished. Her voice grew deeper, more profound. And there is one more thing I have to say. Even if saying it might hurt Hannah, I don't want her walking into a marriage where her husband still carries a massive scar from his past. I looked at Michael. He looked at me. Neither of us dared to breathe heavily. Sophia turned to me. Hannah, before Michael met you, he came looking for me. He searched for months. He drove from my hometown all the way to the city, asking every single acquaintance, knocking on doors where I used to study, where I used to work. Those words sent a chill down my spine. Sophia continued. He was so exhausted, so depleted, that he literally dropped to his knees in front of my house. I stood inside, watching him, but I didn't dare open the door. I was terrified. Terrified that if I opened it, we would both be dragged down into the abyss. I looked at Michael. He squeezed his eyes shut, overwhelmed with misery. Sophia's next words felt like they were crushing my heart. Michael told me, "As long as you come back, I am willing to start over from scratch, no matter what you still have or what you've lost." But I couldn't. I stood perfectly still. I wasn't jealous that Michael had loved deeply in the past. I wasn't jealous that he searched for her or suffered. I was jealous because I felt as though I had stepped into a life where the woman before me had entirely consumed Michael's heart. I turned to Michael, my voice shaking but trying to remain calm. "You hid this from me." Michael sprang forward. "Hannah, listen to me. Everything she just said is the truth. I was in agony, but I let it go. I chose you. I married you because I love you. Please, you have to believe me." Sophia looked at me and continued, her tone very gentle this time, not challenging, but apologetic. "I don't want to ruin your marriage. I came to give Michael his truth back. I want him to live with a light heart, not so I can win him back." I asked bluntly, "Then why are you here?" Sophia replied softly, "So that you know he isn't what Chloe made him out to be. He's not a cheater. He never made promises to anyone else except one person, me, the woman he once wanted to marry." Michael grimaced. "Sophia, please, stop talking." But Sophia shook her head. "I'll say my final piece and then I'll leave." The room was silent. Sophia looked at me, her eyes sincere. "Hannah, Michael loves you. I can see that. But inside Michael, there is still fear. A dark space that you don't know about. If you want to keep this marriage, you have to be strong. Stronger than Michael. Stronger than any woman who has ever walked through his life." She turned to Michael, her voice as light as the wind. "I wish you happiness. Don't let it slip away this time." With that, Sophia bowed her head, turned her back, and walked out the door. Not a single look of regret, not a single gesture trying to hold on, just a profound, suffocating silence left in her wake. When the door closed, Michael turned to me, his voice rough. "Hannah, I beg you, don't misunderstand. I don't love Sophia anymore. I was just shocked to see her again. I don't want to hurt you, I just want you here with me." I looked at him for a long, long time. Waves of emotion were crashing inside me, none of which I could name. I asked very quietly, "Michael, if I hadn't been standing here today, and Sophia showed up, would your heart have fluttered for her again?" Michael shook his head immediately. "No, never. Hannah, you are my wife. I choose you." I looked deep into his eyes. I saw sincerity, but I also saw an unhealed wound. I spoke slowly, every word slicing through the air like a knife. "Michael, I am not jealous of your past, but I refuse to be the rehab center for a heart that isn't ready." Michael grabbed my hand. "I am ready. I swear to you." I pulled my hand back. Michael panicked. "Hannah, please don't do this." I took a step back. "Michael, tonight I am going to my parents' house." Michael turned pale. "No, please don't go. Just stay for one night. Don't leave tonight." I shook my head. I need time to figure out if this marriage should continue right now, or if it needs a pause. Michael dropped to his knees, his eyes burning red like fire. "Hannah, I am begging you, please don't go. Don't leave me the way I lost Sophia. I'm so scared." I looked at him. The man kneeling before me was trembling so hard he couldn't even form a complete sentence. And in that exact moment, I realized something. If I stayed tonight, I would simply be patching up his wounds. But if I left, he would finally understand my true value. I turned my back. Michael sprang up and wrapped his arms tightly around me from behind. "Hannah, I need you. I only have you. Please, don't go. I'm begging you." I closed my eyes, then gently pried his fingers off of me. "Michael, I am not abandoning you. But I am leaving so you realize that loving me isn't just about apologizing. It's about strength. It's about resilience. It's about standing firm in the face of your own past." I walked to the door. Michael collapsed, his hands gripping the tiled floor. "Hannah, no. Please don't go." But I kept walking, because I knew the decision I made tonight would determine the entire remainder of this marriage. I walked out of the gates of my in-laws' house, leaving behind a stunned Michael and the heavy, anxious gazes of both families. My mother walked closely by my side. She didn't rush me. She didn't interrogate me. She just placed a gentle, hilly hand on my back, as if silently saying, "Come home to your mother first." During the drive back, my heart wasn't as tranquil as I had hoped. I wasn't running away. I just desperately needed empty space to breathe, to look back at the massive, chaotic mess I had just waded through. I loved Michael truly, but I also understood that a wife who wants a peaceful life cannot carry the burden of her husband's past on her shoulders. A lasting marriage cannot be built solely on pity. That night, I slept in my old bedroom at my parents' house in Evanston. I lay awake listening to the wind rattling the roof, each sound knocking against my chest. Michael didn't text. He didn't call. He didn't try to desperately pull me back. There was no shadow of my mother-in-law showing up to cause a scene. There was no Teresa begging on his behalf. His entire family was dead silent. That silence is exactly what kept me tossing and turning. Michael understood. He was giving me actual, genuine space to breathe. The next morning, when I stepped out into the front yard to water my mother's flower pots, Michael's silhouette was already standing by the front gate. He didn't come inside. He didn't apply any pressure. He didn't make a scene. He just stood there perfectly straight, dark circles under his eyes. I opened the gate. "Why are you here so early?" Michael bowed his head. "I came here to prove what you wanted me to prove. I can be strong. I can cut ties. And I am taking responsibility for this marriage." I looked at him, half believing, half doubting. Michael handed me a manila envelope. "These are my things. Starting today, I am moving out into my own place," Michael said. "I am no longer living with my mom. I need space to be a proper husband before I try to be an obedient son." I was startled. "And your mom? Did she agree to this?" Michael nodded. "I told her everything last night. She was angry, but she understands. She even apologized. She said if I want to keep my wife, I have to be a man, and I can't hide in her shadow forever." I breathed heavily. What I had been waiting for wasn't for him to run away from home, but for him to know how to stand on his own 2 feet. Michael looked directly into my eyes. "Hannah, I don't need you to forgive me right this second, but I need you to know that I am no longer the Michael who was terrified of his past. I am no longer wishy-washy. I will not let anyone interfere in our lives. I chose you. I chose once, and I chose definitively." I asked softly, "And what about Sophia?" Michael answered without a second's hesitation. "It's closed. She came to apologize, not to get back together." I listened. I feel relieved, and I owe her nothing. The past is over. His voice was so calm that I believed him. Michael handed me a thick envelope. "This is the letter Sophia left behind. You can read it or not. It's up to you. But her last words in it were thanking you for wanting to stay with me, even though I was foolish." I held the envelope, but didn't open it. Some things are enough just knowing they exist. I didn't need to dig deeper. Michael took a deep breath and continued. "As for Chloe, I filed an HR complaint against her for tampering with corporate documents. I submitted the evidence, and she's facing disciplinary action at her current job. I did this so you understand. I am severing ties completely." I was genuinely surprised. Michael had never been this ruthless. "You can stay at your parents' house for a few days if you want," Michael said. "But I want you to see my effort every single day. I will not leave you to face my mother alone anymore. My mom said she will change. She'll back off on the control, and she's going to let us live on our own for a while." I stayed silent, my eyes burning, but I forced myself not to cry. Michael stepped closer, but he didn't touch me. "Hannah, if you choose to come back, I promise I will spend the rest of my life proving you didn't make a mistake. And if you want to end this, I will respect that. But I beg you to give me one last chance." I choked up. "Do you think I should come back right now?" Michael shook his head. "No. You come back when your heart doesn't hurt anymore. When you look at me and you don't see anyone else's shadow. When you trust me, that's when you come back. I can wait, however long it takes." That sentence lifted the heavy iron bar right off my chest. I asked my final question. From now on, are you going to make me brace myself to protect this love again? No. From now on, I stand in front. You stand behind my back, never the other way around. I looked at the man standing in front of me. Standing in the cold, dark circles under his eyes, looking absolutely exhausted, but his gaze was unwavering. The weak Michael from yesterday was gone. Michael turned to leave, but I grabbed his hand. He jolted. I said softly, my voice thick with emotion but crystal clear, "Michael, I'm coming home tonight." He whipped around, his eyes lighting up as if he had just been pulled from an abyss. "Really?" I nodded. "But on one condition. From now on, we face everything as husband and wife. Your mom doesn't get in the middle. No one gets in the middle. Just the two of us." Michael placed a hand over his heart, his voice shaking. I promise on the rest of my life." That night, I returned to my in-laws' house without any grand fanfare, just Michael walking by my side. My mother-in-law opened the door. She looked at me, looking visibly flustered and guilty. She didn't put on her authoritarian facade anymore. She simply said, very gently, "Hannah, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I made things so hard for you, and I regret it." I bowed my head in response. "I came back because I want us to start over. But please grant me this. I am your daughter-in-law, not a pawn for you to test your authority on." My mother-in-law nodded, tears in her eyes. "I know. I'll change, I promise." Teresa ran out, smiling lightly. "Thank God, we finally have some peace." I looked at Michael, and Michael looked at me. No more suspicion, no more past baggage, no more shadows standing between us. We held hands and walked into the house. This time, it was a true step forward for a husband and wife, not a step dragged down by the storms of the past. I realized that no marriage comes without its trials. But what makes it last isn't avoiding the storms. It's learning how to stand together when you face the waves. And that night, as Michael held my hand tightly in our room, I felt it clearly. In the end, what keeps a husband and wife together isn't promises, it's resilience, it's decisiveness, and it's the maturity to have the courage to look each other's past dead in the eye. We had done exactly that, and I knew this marriage was, for the very first time, finally on the right track. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to listen to the entirety of this story. If you found it engaging and meaningful, please remember to subscribe to the Serene Golden Years channel, hit the like button on this video, and leave a comment to let us know your thoughts. Your continued support is our greatest motivation to keep bringing you warm and profound stories every single day. See you again in our next videos on. Wishing everyone great health and peace.